So, Jordan, sitting in the classroom, 15-year-old Jordan, what were you thinking you were going to do? Did you think that you were going to be making a living out of actually making these amazing sculptures and selling them across the country? Or what was 15-year-old Jordan thinking he was going to do?
I don't actually have an answer. 15-year-old me definitely wasn't thinking I was going to be doing this anyway. Um, I think at 15, I knew what I liked and what I didn't like. I did enjoy metalwork, and I enjoyed kind of the creative side of metalwork. And I loved drawing. But at 15 years old, I had no idea. And yeah, I didn't really think you could make a career as an artist, so I didn't even really think about that as an option. I think I was kind of pushed towards the do something that you can get a job in that's safe and secure, kind of like what everyone else does. Get a degree, get something behind you, and then yeah, do that. Because I mean, I knew that people did become like they can get a job in the arts, but I knew that it was hard work, and it's probably not the safest career, so I didn't really even consider it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Especially when you're living in the country, it's very much, get something quite stable, especially if you're a guy, get into, doing like be a mechanic, be a plumber, be something that, you can earn a living from. And arts doesn't always seem that safe to parents. Now, for everyone listening, can you tell us a little bit more about your sculptures? Because they're very special. They're not just your regular old sculptures.
So I make sculptures out of scrap metal, and they're all animals. So I kind of I have two passions really in terms of this creative field: is metalwork and animals. That's one thing that I used to draw a lot of as a kid, was animals. And the metalwork kind of component with the recycled metal, that kind of happened just because I lived on a farm, and as I was growing up, Dad would say, look, you can't use new metal, but we've got tons and tons of old metal lying around. So just go to town on that, and you can kind of learn about metalwork that way. And it kind of happened organically through that. And yeah, I think at the start, I didn't even put it on social media. I kind of just chucked it in the garden for mum. And I think that's kind of really how it started. Just people would see them coming over to our place, and then they'd query it and say, oh, could he make something like that for my garden? And yeah, so I didn't really have a compulsion to use recycled metal. It was kind of just because that's all I was allowed to use when I was younger.
It makes a lot of sense now, I guess, with a lot of the movements that are happening with climate change, etc. It's a good niche to be sat in, as the recycled goods area.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, yeah, as I was saying before, I never intended it to be that way, but I'm kind of glad I did choose. Oh, it went down that niche, the recycled component, because it is very in trend at the moment. And it turns out people love recycled metal, like the old tools and old machinery parts that have kind of been thrown away maybe 50 or 60 years ago, and then you put them into a sculpture. And I think especially the older generations appreciate it, that they can like be brought out into something modern, and it hopefully can live on for another 50 years.
For me personally, because I've been following you on Instagram for a while now, is watching your videos of the before and after. And I think with the recycled material, what I find really interesting is what you have started with, which looks like a pile of junk, and then what you finish up with, which is always very interesting. And your sculptures, they're different because they're not smooth. Material's not the same, and I think that's what does make them different. Do you often get people handing you a load of material and they'll say, can you make a elephant out of this? Or is it very much what you can get your hands on, and you kind of look at the pile and go, oh, I can make a horse out of this? How does it work? What's the process?
So I try and really just grab as much as I can. I don't really know where each piece is going. It's more like kind of a jigsaw puzzle that I just collect and collect and collect. And I kind of pick out pieces that I like the look of, but I don't really know where they're going to go, then bring them in the shed, clean them. And it's more just trial and error. So you try a piece here, that doesn't work, cut it off, try a piece here. And it's kind of that process rather than I've got this idea in my head where each piece is going to go and then weld that in. Because, yeah, I think people have got this idea that that's how I do it. And it's not like that at all. I kind of pick the animal that I like, that I want to build, get all the dimensions and drawings and models for that. And then it kind of goes, I choose the animal first, and then the metal kind of comes later. So I'd usually start off with like a 2D silhouette of, I don't know, a horse, and I'll cut out the 2D silhouette of the horse, and I'll build outwards from there. Because once you've got the 2D shape, it's easier to build the 3D shape outwards rather than kind of just winging it.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, which there is other artists that kind of, I guess if you're like a bronze artist or a clay, you're kind of starting straight from 3D, which I don't really know how they do it, but I'd say that's a lot more harder than what I'm trying to do, which is start 2D and then build out to a 3D.
So you're completely self-taught, is that right?
Yes, yep.
That's incredible. So over the years, to be able to refine your art, is there anyone that you've been able to learn from to be able to help you, or is it really just there's no one else really doing what you're doing with the metal? You know, who's been guiding you, or are you really on your own?
I'm never on my own. I think with the World Wide Web now, there's just so many opportunities out there to learn. There's a bloke in America, John Lopez, he was kind of the earliest of the kind of scrap metal creations, and he helped me out a lot. And since then, like, there's been hundreds of other guys around the world that have kind of also started. And that's the thing, there's nothing new really under the sun in terms of art. And you kind of pick up things that you like the look of, and then you change it to adapt to your style. Because I mean, each piece of art you do is going to be different from the next, and you kind of just learn from the best, and then you also find out ways not to do it through just trial and error. So I'd say mainly I just learnt, one, through trial and error, and two, just using the internet and gauging what works, what doesn't work, what other people have done that works, that looks good, and then adapting it so it's the style that you like as well.
So is there an online program down the line for you where you're going to teach others to be able to make their own sculptures out of scrap metal?
I'm not sure if I'll do online programs. I think if I was to do it, it would be face-to-face, the actual with people.
Yeah.
And maybe even before that, just talking about my work, traveling around, say, WA, and I don't know, visiting men's sheds and schools and stuff like that, and just talking to people about what I do. I guess another thing that I did a degree in psychology before I became a sculptor. So I am passionate about the whole mental health side of things as well. So I think that would be cool if I could kind of mix both in as I go talk to people in men's sheds and then kids in the school and aged care homes and stuff like that, that one, they like the art, but also could also really benefit from the mental health advice as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I suppose with men's sheds as well, they're able to get some of the equipment in that they might need for this, because it's not something that you just do in your backyard. And I suppose, like you said, like an online course, fine if you've got the equipment that you need, but if not, you're soldering metal. It's not just, cutting out with a pair of scissors.
Yeah, so I think that's the beauty about what I do is you don't need huge amounts of space. And most men especially on the regional areas, have their own little shed out the back that they can work from. You don't need a huge shed and you don't need too many tools. I think it's the noise that can sometimes be an issue if you're in a suburban area, but like using scrap metal, it's really easy to source, and there's just so many cool things you can make out of recycled metal. Some blokes use recycled metal and they'll make furniture. They'll mix really old wood and then add in recycled metal, and that looks really cool. And I mean, I've figured out now you can actually have a career in that side of furniture making, and there's definitely a market for that kind of work. So it's certainly not exclusive just to people that have huge sheds. And I think if anyone's got a shed and maybe an angle grinder and a welder, you can pretty well do exactly what I'm doing. And I mean, when I first started, that's all I had. And it might take a little bit longer, but other than that, you can kind of build whatever you like.
So that might have been how you started, and most people might not need that much room, but I've seen some of your sculptures and they are life-size animals. So talk to me about, how did you progress from, manageable sized sculptures to full-size sculptures that are now sitting in towns around WA?
So I'm on a farm at the moment. My parents have a farm in Narrabeen, and I've used Dad's workshop since day one, and that's like a big farm workshop. So I've never been short of space. And I mean, I've always wanted to go big, like build big animals. And once I've done one big animal, I want to try another big animal. So as long as it's the engineering kind of all works out, then I want to keep going bigger and bigger. It just seems to have a much bigger effect, and it does get your name out there a lot quicker than the smaller pieces. And I think that's what the towns are kind of after. Towns and shires and businesses are something that will stop people and get them out of the car and look around. So I think that's probably what I'm focusing on more in the future, is bigger pieces, and specifically for public spaces, just places around mainly WA that tourists come in and are looking for something a little unique.
So what's the largest piece that you've created so far?
So the biggest piece was a piece I did last year, which was a white rhino.
Yep.
That would be the biggest animal so far. He was about 800 kilo, and so he's a life size. He's about the size of a car. Once I've done him, like, I'm now keen to go bigger again, and like, there's so many big animals out there that I'd love to do. And even branching down the prehistoric animals, there's just so many cool dinosaurs that would just be phenomenal to build. And I think that's the problem I have, is there's too many ideas and not enough time. And I find when I build a piece, I build a bull, I'll have 5 more orders to build the same bull or to build a bull again. People generally like what they've already seen. So it's a good problem to have, but it also makes it tricky, because you've got people that are banging on your door saying, can you build me this for my business or whatever? But at the same time, you want to build, a T-Rex or a giraffe or something like that, something new.
Yeah.
So that's the issue that I'm kind of having at the moment.
So is it just you at the moment that's creating everything?
Yes. Yep. Just me in the workshop. I've got a little help now with the online stuff, which is a huge part of any business these days, is the online presence. So I've had a little bit of help on the online side of things, which has helped a lot. And now, but yes, just me in the shed. The actual building side is just me.
Yeah, because it's incredible. You're sitting on 70 odd thousand followers on Instagram, so there's people around the world that are loving what you're doing, which is impressive. But for someone who is hands on with the tools, trying to keep up with an audience like that and keep your personal brand growing, it's difficult on your own. So yeah, it's great that you've got someone helping you with that part.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's it's becoming a lot bigger than me. Just the online stuff is just, you can spend days and days and days doing that and replying to comments, and there's so many different things. Like, I'm no expert in social media, but yeah, it's just endless, the stuff you can learn and the opportunities that are out there on social media.
Yeah.
It seems to be the new way of advertising now. And I guess the fact that it's free is just like, it's such a good opportunity that, yeah, it would be silly not to take advantage of it, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. Has anything interesting come from your online presence? Like any weird and wonderful commissions that you've done, or like further afield, any overseas that you've done so far?
Yeah, it's endless. I mean, most of the overseas stuff I kind of say no to, just because it's, yeah, I kind of want to have a lot of sculpture presence in WA, but it just makes it harder. Like, for example, having a gallery that's in New York or Miami or London, or which is, I've kind of had offers for those kind of places, and not that, like, I think that would be unreal, but at the same time, I don't have any control over there. And I do like keeping my stuff local, because it kind of means I can have some sort of say on where it goes, and I can also maintain it if it breaks. And yeah, I get to see the reactions people have locally, rather than in America. Yeah, once it's gone, it's over there. I probably won't see it again. So, but yeah, in saying that, in terms of your question, yeah, I've had amazing opportunities to showcase my work overseas. And I think it was just before, this is probably the craziest one, I had a exhibition that was going to happen in Qatar, and it was all kind of paid for by the government. And it turns out, so that I think it was first year was 2018, and I found out I had the invitation in my junk mail. And this was like a fully catered trip. They take, I think, 3 of your biggest pieces. I think the government ends up buying your pieces. They pay for all the accommodation, the flights. And yeah, that was just through, I think, social media, really. They saw me on social media, and they're kind of just offering these exhibitions to, like, the leading scrap metal artists. And yeah, if I didn't have, say, an Instagram account and I wasn't active on it, I don't think it would have happened. So yeah, it's just phenomenal now who can see your work and how easily it can happen.
Oh yeah, the world's so small. It's a global marketplace now, so that's fantastic. You've had that opportunity.
No, definitely.
So anyone who's listening who is in WA or is planning a trip to Western Australia at some point, what are some of the main towns that we can skip through and see some of your work?
So, as I was saying before, like when I started, a lot of my work went to private collectors. That's kind of how I started off, through galleries, and people would buy big pieces for their houses and whatnot. So I'd say the first 5 years of my work all went private. I now have pieces in there, hawk and a Clydesdale horse. Actually, I've got a crocodile there as well. That was going to go to Qatar, but that got canned. I've also got a bull in Quairading on the main street. I've got a wedge-tail eagle in Williams on the main street. And I just recently put the white rhino, which is on the South Perth foreshore now. So that's the plan. I'm keen to keep pushing public pieces out into WA and keep getting them around, just so there's kind of a map that people can go visit all these different places around WA and see my sculptures.
That's exciting. I love that, because by the time we've hopefully opened up again and we've got more people coming through the state, it would be awesome to have a map where you could go and see all Jordan's sculptures and, do a bit of a road trip, because, you go there, you go for miles and miles and there's not much, but every town does have something iconic in it. So it'd be cool if you could actually map out all of your sculptures along the way. That'd be really awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of been the plan I've had for the last couple of years. And it is a slow process, especially public art. It always takes a lot longer than private, where private just you get one person buy it and it's done.
Yeah.
Public, there's usually councils and then differing opinions in the town. So it's a slower process, but I think the long-term impact will, help me, and hopefully it'll benefit the towns and places where the sculptures are put as well. So, hopefully I can just, keep getting more out into the public spaces in Western Australia, which I think I will.
Yeah, awesome. Now, anyone who is listening who is overseas, and obviously Jordan has said that he doesn't ship any of his sculptures, but so if they want to have something in their house, I'm sure they can get a calendar from you.
So I think I still am happy to do smaller pieces, because generally they'll go to a private place anyway. It's hard that you get a small piece go to in a public space just because it's so small. So I'm still open to doing smaller pieces to anyone, really, anyone that's happy to buy them, which I think is good for me as well, because it breaks it up from the big ones, because a big one can take 3 to 4 months. So it's nice that you can do a piece that's 1 or 2 weeks and it breaks it up. So yeah, I'm not just public. I do the odd private piece. Well, I mean, if I look at my calendar at the moment, a lot of them are big pieces, and they were private, but they were different animals that I hadn't done before, and I was just keen to get them ticked off. So yeah, I'm not totally against commissions. It's just now, because time is so short, I am kind of pushing that public, the public pieces a little bit more than usual.
You need a clone, I think.
Would be handy, yeah. 3 or 4 workers that kind of think and do the same things I do.
Awesome. Jordan, thank you so much for joining me. Can you tell everyone how they can find out more about what you're up to and follow you online?
So, I mean, the main ways of communication these days is Facebook, Instagram, email, and website, or if you like, just give me a call. They're all on my website at www.jordanspriggsculptures.com.au. Or most people are on social media these days, just Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, whatever's easiest.
I can guarantee the Instagram is worth having a look at, everyone. And he's a good country boy, so yes, get on the phone if you want to get in touch with him.
Definitely.
Thank you.
15 emails.
Thank you so much, Jordan.
Thanks, Megan.